Hello, this is the Cat's Library and I'll be your librarian today. In this week's video, I'm going to take weather and turn it into people. Let's get started. So it was my friend's birthday this week, and so I let her decide what the first weather is going to be. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what the weathers are until the end, because I want to see how well I turn them into characters. So she gave me two options, and this is one of them. I started out with the thumbnailing about what I wanted the pose and the general clothes and design to be. My first pose was someone standing out and admiring nature, and my second pose was of a figure skater, which I chose the latter one as my final design because it had a more dynamic pose. I wanted her to have very spiky hair and to be wearing a coat and boots because that is the type of clothes that one wears in the type of weather that she is a part of. I wanted her to have a serene and yet slightly sad and also happy expression on her face. And this is sort of complicated to pull off. I'm not sure if I actually got her expression to look that way, but that is the way that this particular weather makes me feel, like sad and happy and calm all at the same time. So I tried to get that across in the type of character that this is. After the screen recording was done, I realized that the hands and feet were much too large for what I wanted to do because my other drawings for the video had smaller hands and feet, and I wanted her to fit in. So I changed up some things about her proportion and changed a few colors and a few other things about her design to better fit in with the other ones and to be more cohesive and beautiful overall. I gave her gray skin with white freckles because that is how this particular type of weather tends to look in reality in nature. But I gave her purple highlights in her hair and more of a blue on her jacket and ice skates because that is how the type of colors that it is usually portrayed as in popular media. If you haven't guessed, this is supposed to be snow, though I did add a bit of inspiration from the Northern Lights and the Aurora Borealis. For my next drawing, I wanted to make a little family. And so this one, I began with the original concept that this was going to be the mother of the family. And so I started out with a motherly pose, but I also sort of wanted her to be a trick airplane pirate. So an airplane pilot in a small town that does aerial stunts. And this idea just came to me because this weather seems more rambunctious and daredevil-y to me, and it seems more flashy. Pardon the pun. So I made her a more extroverted character and more flashy, and a little bit based off of Della Duck from DuckTales. I had some trouble with the line art drawing, and part of that was because Photoshop kept crashing, and part of it was because I was just having a difficulty with the line art. So I turned off my screen recording and finished the line art off screen, and so now we can go into the colors. For the colors, I knew I wanted her to have black hair, not only to match with Lumi, because I had in my mind that those two were sisters, but also because this weather has particularly dark clouds involved. And so I wanted her hair to look very curly and very cloud-like. I also gave her blue skin because there is a water element to this type of weather. I gave her a purple where there should have been brown so that it would fit into the overall color scheme, and I gave a pop of yellow in the eye because this weather has something that is yellow usually involved in it, as well as all of the clouds. And it provided a contrasting colors because yellow and blue are very close to being contrasting colors from each other, and purple and yellow are contrasting colors, and orange and blue are contrasting colors. I named her Ashley, and her weather that she is based off of is a thunderstorm. Ashley's husband, I knew that I wanted him to have a spiky hair and a spiky beard to provide a circular yet triangular shape to his design. I realized that both Lumi and Ashley had a profession, whereas Lumi was a figure skater and Ashley was an airplane pilot. Then I wanted to have a specific job for this character. And for this character, I decided that the best course of action would be a farmer. And it also matched with the beard aesthetic that he already was going to have from the get-go. I had a bit of difficulty drawing his arms and his whatever tool that he was going to be using. I went around a few times with what I wanted it to be. At first, I wanted it to be a pitchfork, and then the pitchfork didn't work out for me, so I tried to make it a rake, but the angle was wrong and it looked more like a short broom. So then I went back to it being a pitchfork. Looking back, I could have made it a shovel, and that probably would have been much easier for me and saved me a bunch of trouble, but here we are. This is the first drawing that I had in the video that I really struggled with the colors, which was somewhat surprising. At first I wanted him to have yellow skin, but then he looked a little bit too much like a Simpsons character. And the bright red that I used for the actual meteorological phenomena, astronomical phenomenon that he is based off of looked a little bit too cartoony to have that bright of a red for a hair color. And so I went around, I gave him a natural skin tone at one point. He's had like all of the types of hair colors that have to do like all of the orange, browns, yellows, reds, all of them. I finally settled on giving him green skin because I looked up some references of what this type of weather is, and there were a lot of photos of green fields that were also associated with it. And so I gave him green skin, and then everything else sort of fell into place, like shortly afterwards. This character is named Miles, and he is based off of Sunshine. Finally, I drew Ashley and Miles' child. Now, I'm pretty sure that this one's going to be the easiest one for you guys to guess, because a rainstorm and sunshine make something very unique. And so I wanted this one to be a little girl, and so this was the first one that doesn't have a specific job in mind. So there was a figure skater, there was a pilot, and there was a farmer, but little girl isn't really that much of a profession, but I had a very specific idea of what I wanted her to be doing. I wanted her to be jumping in puddles and to have a rain jacket and to have an umbrella. And so, like her dad, she has a prop. And luckily, I did figure out recently how to draw straight lines in Photoshop. Now, I sort of expected this one to be something that I would have more trouble with the colors, but I actually had more trouble with the composition because I wanted her to have big, swooping, half-circle pigtails that went on either side of her head. And also with the umbrella and the way that her hands were framed, I needed to make sure that all of those were clear and distinct from each other. I'm not the best at expressions yet, and so this is my attempt at trying to draw a character who is happy and extremely happy. And extremely happy people sort of scare me a little bit, so I guess this ended up as a sort of scary looking drawing, but I don't really know how to fix that. Maybe I'm supposed to draw more wrinkles around the eyes so that it looks like she's smiling with her eyes instead of just with her mouth. The little background that I drew behind our girl here is one of my favorites that I have done for any of the characters in this video. I called this character Sally, and she is based off of rainbows. for your random Bible verse of the day. 1 Kings 19:11 through 13, New International Version. 1. The Lord said, "Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. 2. After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire came a gentle whisper. 3. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" I usually do not read the 1s, 2s, and 3s. I did that for a joke. That was intentional.